switching to your pistol is faster than reloading. Timeless words from one of the most iconic shooters to exist. But what if your pistol is better than your rifle? In many games, there have been handguns so good that have made them top choices, even among their primary counterparts. And in this video, we'll look at some of gaming's greatest pistols. Halo is perhaps the most well-known sci-fi shooter to date. A game in which you take on an advanced alien race. The weapons in Halo range from somewhat conventional to pure fiction. They also differ in usage as well. Some are fast-firing weapons meant to tear through flesh, while others are energy weapons designed to break shields. This variety has spawned a number of memorable weapons, but none are as iconic as the M6D pistol. Introduced in Halo Combat Evolved, it's the first weapon that you receive in the game. Typically, starter weapons in shooters are consistent, but somewhat lackluster compared to the later options. But not so with the M6D. In fact, the pistol is considered by many to be the best weapon in the game. Shields are an important mechanic in the Halo series. Many opponents are guarded by a shield that needs to be broken before being able to actually deal damage. This means that gunfights in Halo are usually drawn-out affairs. But the M6D has an incredibly high amount of damage and is also very accurate. It doesn't require that many shots to take down an opponent, and its zoom-in function makes landing these shots fairly easy. Funny enough, the state of the pistol in Halo 1 was not intentional. Jason Jones, the co-founder of Bungie and one of the key figures behind Halo 1, admitted in an interview that he tweaked the code for the pistol right before the game's launch, as he felt the pistol was too underpowered. The change was substantial. The M6D in Halo 1 is undoubtedly the most popular and remembered weapon from that game.
Run for your life! He's got the Halo 1 pistol!
Becoming a fan favorite, it's since appeared in subsequent Halo games and other franchises, but no depiction has come close to the domination of its first appearance. Halo is one of the oldest shooters in gaming and set many of the trends that we see in shooters today, and the pistol certainly set a high bar for what a handgun in a game could be. When gunfights are long, drawn-out affairs, a weapon that can end the fight quickly will become a popular choice. And of course, there's an undeniable satisfaction to landing a headshot with the handgun. Spraying down an enemy with a hail of bullets is certainly tried and true, but landing a fatal headshot is as flashy as it is rewarding. Since the Halo pistol, there have been many different handguns in gaming that have reached a similar level of notoriety, but few perform as well as the M6D. Continuing the trend of hard-hitting handguns, we have the Desert Eagle. This is a semi-auto handgun designed to fire large rounds, including the 50 Action Express cartridge. The initial design of the handgun was first conceptualized by Magnum Research, a company located in Minnesota. A patent was submitted by the company in 1983, outlining the basis for a gas-operated pistol. It was a promising design, but Magnum Research lacked the capacity to produce the handgun at a large scale. So, Israel Military Industries would become involved, providing the production capability to manufacture the pistol, as well as tweaking the design, with a second patent being filed in 1985. This was the gun that would become the Desert Eagle. The initial models of the Desert Eagle were chambered in .357 Magnum, a powerful round to be sure, but nothing new at the time. A .44 Magnum version came afterwards, as well as a .41 Magnum version. And in 1991, the .50 Action Express variant of the Desert Eagle would be brought to market, perhaps the most well-known version of the handgun. The .50 Action Express round is powerful. Intended for use against large predators, it is devastating against most things that walk this earth. While semi-auto handguns are certainly not special, the way the Desert Eagle functions is rather unique. The Desert Eagle houses a gas-operated piston system, very common in semi-automatic rifles, but almost unheard of in a handgun. When a round is fired, some of the gas is bled off into a cylinder under the barrel. This gas pushes on a piston, which in turn cycles the slide, and subsequently the bolt, ejecting the spent casing and loading the next round. Again, this piston system is typically not found in a handgun, but with large rounds like the .50 Action Express, a more conventional handgun operating system would struggle. Because of the piston system, the Desert Eagle is visually quite distinct from most other handguns. Rather than the full length of the slide reciprocating like on most other semi-auto handguns, on the Desert Eagle, only half of the slide moves. On later models of the handgun, an optic can be mounted to this front portion. Since it does not reciprocate, this should allow for easier optic use, in theory. Additionally, because the Desert Eagle fits a gas piston system in a handgun, it is much larger than most other pistols. This makes the Desert Eagle rather unwieldy and somewhat uncomfortable to carry. In real life, the Desert Eagle has not seen much practical use, and when there's a need to put larger rounds on target, most will opt to use a different type of firearm altogether. But the Desert Eagle's size and operating system make it stand out. There's no mistaking it for anything else, and it's perhaps for this reason that the Desert Eagle has appeared in numerous games. From modern military shooters to other genres, it's hard to find a game that the Desert Eagle hasn't been a part of. And while the Desert Eagle is depicted to varying degrees of realism, there are some core tenets that every representation of the handgun adheres to. It's loud, has a ton of recoil, and hits very hard. In games, this makes for a difficult weapon to use, but an incredibly satisfying one when it works. A low magazine capacity and high recoil means that this is not meant to be a secondary weapon used in a panic. The Desert Eagle is a handgun meant for deliberate precision. When a single headshot can take out even the most heavily geared opponents, there is huge incentive to make these difficult plays. This attribute of the Desert Eagle has spawned many legendary gaming moments, especially when it comes to competitive shooters like Counter-Strike.
Oh, and another one! Oh, and a third!
Watching the best players in the world succeed with the Desert Eagle has spawned a generation of players who strive to achieve a similar level of proficiency. When it comes to games, the Desert Eagle is the ultimate symbol of skill, an unmistakable choice that says I am better than you. Using pistols in games is undeniably fun, but can be difficult to use, especially in multiplayer shooters. This typically isn't a problem. Just like their real counterparts, handguns in games are usually a backup to a primary weapon. But what if there was a pistol that was just as good as a primary weapon? Enter the Glock 18. A Glock pistol chambered in 9mm, capable of full automatic fire. Originally intended as a tool for Austrian counterterrorism units, these Glocks are the only ones exclusively sold to military and law enforcement units. Released in 1986, this Glock can function as a conventional semi-auto handgun, but with the flick of a switch on the slide, the Glock 18 becomes a full auto weapon. A later model, the Glock 18C, would feature compensator cuts in the barrel and ports on the slide. This redirects some of the gas upwards, dampening the recoil at the cost of making the weapon louder and the muzzle flash larger. While impressive, the usefulness of the Glock 18 in real life is questionable, because the usefulness of a full auto pistol in real life is questionable. Handguns are one of the hardest firearms to shoot well. Compared to most other guns, handguns usually lack a stock. This means one less point of contact with the weapon. Recoil is solely controlled by the hands and arms. Obviously, pistols can be shot fast and accurately, but it requires more effort compared to other firearms. So, a full auto pistol will be exponentially more difficult to use compared to other fully automatic weapons. In an organization like a counterterrorism unit, where shooting around innocents is a realistic scenario, a full auto handgun would be more of a liability than an asset. But in games, shooting a handgun is much easier than in real life, and so is using a fully automatic one. There is usually more recoil compared to other weapons, but not enough to truly differentiate them from weapons that should be much easier to use. Add on the fact that most gunfights in games take place at very close distances, and you have a handgun that in many cases is just as good as a primary weapon. The real Glock 18 shoots at a rate of about 1200 rounds per minute. When this is replicated in games, the Glock 18 will shred most opponents easily up close. And since most handguns in games reload faster than primary weapons, the Glock 18 in games can be constantly topped up on ammunition with minimal delay. The Glock 18 becomes even more oppressive in games when it's a secondary weapon. Take a typical bolt-action rifle, effective at long range, but vulnerable at close distances. Well, with a Glock 18 equipped, the lack of firepower up close goes away entirely. Or, if you have a primary weapon designed for close quarters, the Glock 18 will ensure you never run out of ammunition to deal with anything you encounter. In every game it's featured in, the Glock 18 is usually a top choice. Compared to pistols like the Desert Eagle, there's very little respect associated with using the Glock 18, as many consider it an incredibly easy weapon to use. Perhaps in some cases, too easy. But it has a reputation for being a cheap and easy way to get kills for a reason. There's no denying the effectiveness of the Glock 18 in games. Ugly? Yes. Unfair? Without a doubt. But no amount of hate can change the fact that the Glock 18 usually wins. Moving away from the bold and dramatic, we have a handgun that is well known for being quiet and discreet. The FN57 is one of the most popular pistols in gaming, though the reasons people like it will vary greatly depending on the game. The 5.7 was designed at a time when NATO wanted to replace 9mm with a new cartridge. This new round was to have more range, accuracy, and ballistic capability than the 9mm, as well as having the ability to penetrate body armor. In other words, it needed to be better than 9mm in every way. The Belgian company Fabrique Nationale proposed a solution, the 5.7x28 cartridge. The round travels significantly faster than 9mm, has less recoil than 9mm, and is lighter than 9mm, allowing a user to carry more ammunition. What was less clear was the round's ability to penetrate armor. On paper, armor-piercing loads of the 5.7x28 cartridge can penetrate up to level 3A body armor. In reality, there is heavy debate about how effective the round really is at penetrating armor. Some say that the round is effective at defeating armor, while others believe it to be completely useless for that purpose. But regardless of what the truth is, armor piercing was one of the big marketing draws of the cartridge. Developed in conjunction was the 5.7 handgun. This was a semi-auto handgun firing the 5.7 round. For its time, it was quite advanced. It had less recoil than a 9mm handgun, was constructed primarily of polymer, and fed from a 20-round magazine. While the 5.7 handgun hasn't seen widespread use, there are a number of organizations that have adopted the weapon in some capacity. But what's more interesting is the introduction of the 5.7 into the video game world. One of the first, and perhaps the most notable portrayal of the 5.7 is in the Splinter Cell series. The signature handgun of American super spy Sam Fisher, it's remained a sidearm for every single game. Typically, Sam Fisher is seen using the 5.7 to dispatch enemies or light bulbs quietly. The real 5.7 is good at many things, but one thing it struggles with is being quiet. One of the traits of the 5.7 round is that it needs to travel fast to achieve greater distance at range and armor-piercing capability. This means that the round needs to travel faster than sound, creating a supersonic crack every time it's fired. For most handguns, this isn't that much of a downside, but for a super spy that prioritizes discretion, it doesn't make much sense. Nevertheless, the 5.7 is Sam Fisher's pistol. It's quite likely the 5.7 was chosen for its futuristic look, given that in the older games, the 5.7 had some interesting features. But Splinter Cell wasn't the only game to exaggerate the abilities of the 5.7. In many games, the armor-penetrating ability of the 5.7 is depicted. But where the real 5.7's armor penetration is limited to level 3A body armor at most, the 5.7 in games can go through seemingly anything. With a generous 20-round mag, low recoil, and armor penetration, the 5.7 is capable of taking down even the most heavily armored opponents on its own. Is this realistic? No. But this makes the 5.7 one of the best choices to defeat these enemies, and often can be run in conjunction with a primary weapon to round out your arsenal. When practicality is a priority, the 5.7 will always deliver.
Welcome to Arasaka Tower.
Time to party
Weapons
like it's
and other hazardous
2023.
materials are not allowed on the premises. We wish you
Cyberpunk is a game that draws inspiration from reality. A world overrun by corporate greed, invasive AI, and corrupt politicians. Night City looks concerningly closer and closer to our world in 2026, day by day. But one aspect of Cyberpunk that hasn't taken many cues from our world are the firearms. Whether it's auto-targeting systems, electronic triggers, or poison bullets, the guns of Cyberpunk are certainly a stretch from reality, though there are elements of real firearms in some of these weapons. But none are as outlandish as the Malorian Arms 3516. The handgun of rocker turned corporal revolutionary Johnny Silverhand, the pistol is his perfect companion. In-universe, the handgun is custom made for Johnny, who wanted something that could neutralize a cyberpsycho fan with one shot. And over the years, the Malorian would be upgraded, to the point that it was capable of firing something akin to an anti-tank round. Normally, recoil from such a handgun would be very difficult to control, unless you happen to have a special cyberware arm. For Johnny Silverhand's pistol, the developers always had something akin to a Desert Eagle in mind, a bold and flashy gun for a rebellious heart. But of course, exaggeration was necessary. So the handgun was designed to fire the 5.77 Nitro Express round. This is a bullet meant to take down elephants, and is typically fired out of long rifles. Interestingly enough, there are handguns that are chambered in 5.77 Nitro Express, so the concept isn't as far-fetched as it may seem. While the few 5.77 Nitro Express handguns in real life are usually single-shot break-action pistols, the Malorian Arms 3516 is a semi-automatic handgun that feeds from a 10-round magazine, and the 5.77 round is more than capable in the world of Night City, easily taking down most foes. There are other features as well. The front of the pistol features a flash suppressor and extra weight meant to tame recoil, and similar to a Desert Eagle, only half of the slide reciprocates, with the sight sitting on the non-reciprocating portion. Split slide pistols do exist in real life, but they're fairly uncommon. All this makes for a gun that in-game is very effective. Surprisingly low recoil, high damage, and a unique melee animation should you run out of ammo. But it's not memorable just because of how good it is. After all, there are many effective weapons in Cyberpunk. No, the Malorian Arms 3516 is remembered because of its importance to the story. First seen in Johnny Silverhand's raid on the Arasaka Corporation, it's the ultimate outlet for his rage towards an organization that's taken everything from him. The accompanying music, almost a motif for the gun itself, urges you on for your quest for revenge. There's no mistaking intent. The Malorian and Johnny Silverhand himself are not on a heroic quest to protect the innocent. No, they're here to kill any corporal scum in their path, and anyone who's chosen to align themselves with Arasaka is guilty. Eventually, you're able to obtain the legendary handgun yourself, and in the best ending option, you and Johnny storm the Arasaka headquarters and finish what he started, with the same song and, of course, the same weapon. The powerful round, the insanely impractical and memorable reload, and of course, the sound. It remains just as lethal and iconic. The Malorian Arms 3516 has become a legend among video game guns. It's powerful, loud, and has a theme song. There may be weapons that are more practical, but when it comes to style, Johnny Silverhand's pistol is second to none. Handguns are staples of video games, and there's many more than the 5 listed here. But for a pistol to truly be memorable, it must be either effective or stylish enough to become a true favorite. Few reach this status, but when they do, they're hard to forget. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to see more content like this.